Welcome, everybody, my listeners and my watchers. And I want to say I'm thankful for this episode. This is going to be a very fun episode, very interesting and very prominent what's happening at this time. This is a part of the extra episodes, and we also have coming up next is the intuition of a woman, the intellect of a man, the debate of men versus women, and then also our final IDK, what the heck we are doing. And I can't wait for those episodes to come up. So now let's get it started. So when we first start, I'm going to introduce Hannah. Hey Hannah, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing good. So introduce yourself.
My name is Hannah. I am 17 and I'm Chinese.
All right. All right. And next guest is Jennifer. Hey Jennifer.
Hi,
Go ahead, introduce yourself.
my name is Jennifer and I'm 17 and I'm Vietnamese.
All right. And then last but certainly not least, Aly. Hey Aly.
Hey, my name's Aly. I'm 16 years old, so I'm the youngest, but I'm half Vietnamese and half Filipino.
All right. So first of all, let me ask how y'all doing? How's everybody doing today? Y'all doing good? Good. Okay. All right. So we'll start real quick and go through the questions. So the first question is: the world has always been fighting against the minorities and not with them. Since the rise of Asian violence, what has been your biggest fear? Yeah, what has been your biggest fear? Let's start. Aly, you go first.
Oh wow. Okay. Which is with COVID and everything. I feel like my biggest fear, well, from my um experience, I guess like my personal experience, last year, I had to go to Ohio for my aunt because there was like a family emergency, and this was like kind of in the heat of everything with COVID and like Corona. And so on the way to Ohio, we had to. Sorry, I don't know why it's echoing. But we had to go through like a lot of the. I mean, Ohio's in the Midwest, so like, there's a lot of people who kind of have. I know it's just the Midwest, and so like I was kind of scared going through more of like these states, especially since there were still like Asian hate crimes going on. And I think my biggest fear is just like for my grandparents who live in California, and just I guess my loved ones, and even myself too, and like literally just my family facing kind of any kind of like racism or violence.
All right, Jennifer.
My fear is when my parents or like any family member are going out and they aren't picking up any of my like messages or phone calls, because sometimes I'll call them just to check when they're coming home, and also like when they're gone for like an uncomfortable amount of time. Like my parents will tell me like, oh, we're just gonna go get some groceries, and that usually takes like maybe an hour tops for them, and then they'll be gone for like an extra hour, and I get like very anxious about that.
Okay, Hannah.
I think my biggest fear is just being like in a public place and I guess being like I don't know how to like put it in words, but sometimes I'm scared when I'm in public and I just feel like around the COVID time when a lot of Asians were getting hate because they were automatically assuming the virus was like associated with them and that they were the ones bringing it over. And like obviously like we're from America, like we're Americans too. Like just because we're Asian doesn't mean that we brought the virus over to the US. So like when I would be out at the grocery store, I would just like wonder what they were thinking. And I guess it's not necessarily like I was like feared for my life, but it was just the like judgment that I felt from people.
Okay. All right. So let's then go into our next question, which is Asians in media has always been a laughing stock, stereotyping your language and your culture. with more Asian representation being more appropriate and accurate, does this feel like a win or just a slap in the face? Um, Jennifer.
I think it's a win, especially when they are done accurately and like respectfully. Like growing up, you don't like turning on the TV, you don't see a lot of Asian representation. And when you do, they're either like the sidekick or like the joke of the
Mhm.
film, and it hurts. And then you see a lot of like music representation. So when present day you see that on TV, social media, it feels like a very proud moment because you know that your future kids and other like Asian friends are now seeing almost like this dream that they've had on that's like being made into real life now.
Yeah.
So I think
Okay.
it's definitely a win.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
All right. Hannah.
Yeah, I agree completely with Jennifer. I think that anytime I see an Asian on the screen, like I automatically just get excited. Like it just makes me happy to see people who look like me on the screen. And I think like with how TV shows are often like scripted to have like a certain race like being represented, um the stereotypes of like Asian people having like language barriers and things like that, and I guess being kind of like nerds or whatever you want to call that. Sometimes it does seem like that is often the stereotype that's like represented in the media. So I'm not super like happy about that. But when I see like um, Asian females out like who are, for example, Dash and Lily.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Aly,
make that one too. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
Aly like suggested it to me over Christmas, and it's just this adorable like love story. And instead of like her being, well, actually, she started off like being this shy girl, but like by the end, she's like really like taking risks and coming out of her shell and like becoming a butterfly instead of a caterpillar. And it's just like something that I want to see in myself and I want to see in other people, you know?
Okay. Allie.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Jen and Hannah. I love seeing Asian representation in the media, especially today. I feel like, I mean, obviously in the past, there was a lot more stereotypes, like from the 80s. I was talking to my mom about this actually. I think that was more prominent and kind of, you know, back then. But now, I think it's so cool, especially with like To All the Boys I Loved Before. And, Dash and Lily, such a good show.
It really is.
I feel like, there's a difference between like Asian characters who are written by like Asians because like they understand like, and then Asian characters who are written by people who are non-Asian, so they don't really understand like the culture. Um, but I can't even describe how happy I feel. Like with Olivia Rodrigo, she's half Filipina, and so seeing her like break all these like world records for obviously her music is so good and she's an amazing singer, but also like representation. I'm like, oh my gosh, like she's like me. And then like Lana Condor and just yeah, I don't know. I think there are still a lot of stereotypes around kind of being like the nerdy Asian, and I kind of want to erase that and like the whole like model minority myth because that's true. And so I definitely think things have definitely improved, but there's always room for improvement with
Right.
anything. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Jennifer.
adding on to what Hannah and Allie said about like the stereotype of Asian characters being like nerdy or like yeah, like nerds in the film. Growing up seeing that on the TV, it definitely not only is extremely offensive, but also very pressuring and damaging to Asian Americans or Asians growing up because that has an impact on you. You see that this Asian character is being represented as someone who's extremely smart, someone who's extremely good at math. And personally, I am not good at math. I am better in English and like history subjects. So
Mm-hmm.
when I fail at math or science-based tests, it hurts because I think in my head, like, but this character on TV who's representing me is good at it, so why am I not good at it? And
Right.
it really hurts. So I'm glad to see better representation. So now my future children and other Asian American kids and Asian kids are not putting into that pressure.
Mm. Okay.
Because it's a compliment, but like at the same time, it's not.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay.
Oh,
Then let's move to our how. Yeah. Let's move to our next question then. About this is about what's happening right now, and as people have been blaming Asians for the pandemic, like we talked about a little bit, when you walk out that door, what's one thing that you fear that could happen just because of your race? And Hannah.
Um, well, I would say it's hard because I feel like I'm like lucky that I don't live like in a scary situation. Like I'm thankful and grateful for my parents that I live in a household where like I have a bed, I have a warm bed, I have food, like I have everything I need. Um, I guess going to a public school that can sometimes be a little bit scary with just um, having so many people that you don't necessarily know what their political views are or like what how they feel about Asians. Um, but I also feel like we're getting support at least locally. At least my friends, like, we all understand what's going on and like we respect it and we want there to be change. So I would say for me, um, I feel somewhat secure, but
Okay.
I obviously understand that there's a lot of people who aren't secure and I want to help them.
Mm-hmm. Allie.
I feel like I'm kind of in a similar situation as Hannah. Um, I guess, I mean, I will always, I think the fear didn't really become as prominent or wasn't really anything I really truly thought of until recently. I think I always think, oh, like, are these like kids gonna think I'm like this way? Or when I go to work, I have a few examples of where I work because, like, where I work, it's predominantly like older, like white people who come eat at the restaurant I host at, and so, I've faced a lot of like some generalizations, even with my coworkers too, and so I think like when I walk out the door, I don't like I hate just facing like or when people just always bring up that like she's an Asian girl, like it's Asian girl, like she's cute, blah, 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 you know what I mean? Like I hate that so much. I think that's just one thing I don't really like, and I guess I I'm in fear of. But you know, for the most part, I love my culture, and I feel strongly to who I am, and being like an Asian American, and I know that's really important to me. But yeah, I guess.
Okay. Jennifer.
I think when going out, I fear people looking at me strangely or for like a really long period of time because then it makes you think like, oh, what are they thinking of me? Like
Mm-hmm.
what Hannah said like earlier on. And on the media, you see so many Asians being attacked, and it makes you feel so worried about your surroundings. So when going out, I'm like very cautious nowadays. Like I'm always looking behind my shoulder, always making sure I'm not distracted by like my phone or like whatever's in my hand because
Mm-hmm.
I want to make it home. I want to make it back. I want to make it back to my parents and to let them know that their daughter is okay and hopefully to know that they're okay as well.
Okay. So let's do something real quick because when the media and what's happening with Asian violence and Asian hate is there? I feel like there's this divide in all different minorities. Like there, except for working together, there's this separation that this unspoken, spoken separation that we're doing. And when it comes to Asians, there's more of a separation with Asian hate crimes and African American hate crimes is happening too, and that one side feels like they're both getting it. They're like one hate is greater than the other. So, how do you think, as our generation has grown, how can we not say that there's no such thing as we're better or there's better minority sets or cultures, but that we're all fighting for a greater good? How can we fix that? Let's think about that before I'm gonna like my let that marinate real quick. So, how is it a possibility for us to, as Gen Z, as a rising generation that is expected to already, we're the biggest generation of all time, and that we have a generation alpha, which is going to be our kids. That said, that we can't really be saying that we're better raised, but that we're all equal raised, and no matter what, that we're all fighting for greater good.
Wow, that's a really good question, Christian.
Thank you.
I
So,
feel like. Oh
Go ahead, Hannah.
no, you can go.
I feel like, as a generation, I definitely think we're making better leaps into future and recognizing a lot of the problems, you
uh-huh,
know. And I think being able to kind of see each other as equals, and like I don't want, obviously one crime to be greater than the other one, or one, like
right.
I feel like as a generation, we just need to work together to support each other, you know, um, and like when during times of like solidarity and when we need activism like the
Uh,
most, or even like every day, like we'll be there for like our brothers and sisters, like every race, every minority, every marginalized group.
uh-huh. Hannah?
Yeah, I think that for starters, instead of focusing so much on our differences, it would help, I think, if we really focused on what we have in common. And to be quite honest, if we couldn't see, just imagine if everyone was blind, we would never know that there were different races. Like, that
Right.
wouldn't have ever even been a thing. And obviously, we probably can't necessarily eliminate race. I mean, it's so ingrained in people for generations that it would take centuries for that to be um, dissolved, I guess. But I think if we just keep in mind that we're all humans and that we're all people, and rather than judging them automatically based on their race, it would help if we kind of kept an open mind and judged based on character.
Uh,
Um, and I think when Aly was talking about like the divide between minorities, I think instead of thinking as two different kinds of groups, it's about the same idea. Like, it's about bringing justice and equality to everyone. It's not necessarily like, oh, there's Asian hate crimes and then there's African American. It's like there's hate crimes, and
uh,
that needs to change, I feel like.
Jennifer?
Um, sorry, I just like blanked out for a second.
All
I
great.
think that it's important for all of us to acknowledge what's happening because at the end of the day, someone, when we're talking about hate crimes, someone is hurt, someone's family has lost someone, someone's parents have lost their child. And I think we have to acknowledge that and that it's done by hate, that's done because of who we are. Like,
Uh-huh.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
We should acknowledge that and like come together. Obviously, we have to acknowledge our differences, but we also have to, like what Aly said and Hannah, come together and talk about what we have in common as well, which is wanting. Sorry, I'm like trying to gather my thoughts, which is
All
like
good.
trying to stop from future hate against minorities to happen.
Okay. Yeah.
I have something to say.
Go ahead, Aly. Yeah.
I also just want to add, like, I do, like, we're always going to fight for equality. Oh, sorry, I don't know what happened. But I also do want to say, for me at least, like, I love learning about different cultures. I love being, like, immersed in cultures from, like, all around the world. And so, although I do think, like, I completely agree, like, we need to fight the bigger problem, which is obviously, like, hate crimes. But, me personally, I love to take, moments just to learn about other cultures and experience that, because I really love that whole like melting pot idea too, because our differences are amazing, but also like we're equal. Do you guys know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Definitely. Hannah.
This will be quick, but I just want to add on that that's a really good point, Aly. Like, instead of focusing on the violence and like doing all of the, I guess, obviously we need to educate ourselves and be aware of what's going on. But I feel like if we shifted our focus to just learning more about all of these cultures, we would be able to better understand everyone's point of view. And then we wouldn't have so much arguing and like hate crimes going on, because we would kind of understand where everyone is coming from.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So then let's do the last question, and if you have more time, we'll hit more on this. The last question is Okay, the title of this episode is United States versus the Asian community, and we all know like it's not just the United States; it's everywhere. But since we do live in the United States, let's target that real quick. How does this title make you feel? Does it Is it like a fear with this title, or is it more of a realization that, wow, the place where I was born, where I've been raised, this country that's supposed to be the freest country out there, is really hating on me because of my race. They don't know me, they haven't talked to me, but because of where my ancestors have come from, that it's and what's happening right now and how everything looks, they target me because I'm a part of that. I'll let that marinate real quick. And Hannah, you want to take that? No, no. Jennifer, who want to take it first? Aly? Go ahead. I don't care who. Go ahead.
Aly, you can go ahead.
no, you can.
Okay. I think it's definitely a bit of both, because the fear comes from, going out in public and all of a sudden all eyes are on you almost, because like you feel like it's all eyes are on you. But it's also a realization, because now that we are seeing it happen, unfortunately, for me, I look back on like my childhood and think about all the times of like the racist stuff that has happened to me, like little kids pulling their eyes and saying like ching chong to me. And now that I'm at an age where I understand what was happening, I realize like that was really happening when I was like 6 years old, or like barely, like when I was at the age where I should only be worrying about like, I don't know, like who I was gonna play with outside.
Yeah.
Instead, like I was literally being made fun of with things I can't help.
Right.
And so now at the age of 17, I'm realizing this fear that I've had of like people coming up to me and either attacking me or saying something so offensive, like again, like ching chong, or like pulling their eyes back, and yeah.
Okay. Aly?
I feel, you're asking about the title, so I was just thinking about it. I think the title, or just like in general, obviously the climate we're in right now. I think it's just something that kind of needed to be addressed for a while. As Jen was saying, I face the similar things like that too, and so kind of like having that title and addressing it, because it is a problem, really shines more of a light on how much the normalization has come to, and like you know what I mean. And
Yeah.
I guess from my experience growing up too, one thing I could, I guess, say is that I was made fun of my food a lot too. I've talked about that with Jen before, and that was something that I was like super sensitive about. And it's like, I love my food, I love my culture, like I love these things. I love um, learning. I love the dishes my dad makes. Also being kind of like in a multicultural Asian household has really made me proud of who I am as well. But like I love this food that I'm eating, like But yeah, I think the title is something that has needed to be addressed for a while, and yeah.
Okay. Let's do Hannah, then Jennifer.
Well, if we're on the topic of like being made fun of for being Asian, the thing that I've personally struggled with is I was really shy when I was young, and so I've always been really soft spoken. And it wasn't really a problem until I got to high school, when I was just constantly like having to speak up, and people would like be like, "Wait, what did you say?" Like they could never hear me. And I just remember like at one point someone told me like, "You're like the girl on what's that movie called? I'm blanking, with the acapella group."
Oh, from Pitch Perfect?
Yeah, she was like, "You're like the girl from Pitch Perfect." And I was like, wow. I mean, I understood like what she was saying, but it was also just kind of hurtful. And I know she didn't mean it, but this moments like that really kind of bother me, because I feel like there's just that stereotype of Asians kind of being walked over. And I feel like coming out in this situation that we're in now, um, I love seeing people stand up for like what's right, and seeing like Asians out like in the world making a difference. And it just makes me like want to be inspired to do stuff like that too.
All right, Jennifer, you got something?
So going back to what Aly said about, being how other kids say like, "Oh, your food is weird." The word weird really sticks to a child at a very young age. Like when you hear the word weird as a child, you just want to fit in. So the word weird really hits you. So you remember that. You'll always remember that word. Like you see it again and you're like, "Oh, that's weird. I shouldn't be seen with that." So when growing up, when I brought like traditional meals to lunch, and kids would be like, "That's weird. That smells weird. It really hurts." And then so you, as a child, you start to think, "Oh, like my culture food is weird." And now, and you want to fit in, so you bring out like other like lunches, like you'll bring like a sandwich now.
Yeah.
And it hurts because I love my parents' food as well. It's so good. And then growing up as well, I didn't watch a lot of like Disney Channel or like Nickelodeon, like what maybe like a typical kid would watch, and that's because like we didn't watch a lot of TV in general, but also my brother, who has a wider age gap, who is a lot older than me, had when he started dating his who is now his wife. At the time, she introduced me to a lot of things like Asian dramas, like Korean dramas, and like anime. So I started watching that a lot when I'm watching like this anime. It's so interesting. It's so cool. And I'm watching this drama. It's in Korean or it's in Mandarin. It's so cool. They'd be like, that's weird. Like, why aren't you watching so and so? That's weird. Your culture, what you did that day, that's like something cultural. They'll be like, that's weird. So then it's like a huge like slap in the face because then you're thinking like, is my culture just weird in general to you?
Right.
Like, it's like, sorry to say this, but it's like, F you. Like, I love my culture. Like, it's not weird at all.
Oh wait,
Yeah.
can I add something to this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely maybe it could be different in different places of the United States, but maybe just locally, in Raleigh, I guess growing up in North Carolina,
Aly? She's frozen. Hold on, guys. Wait. That'd be text her. Tell him. Hold on.
I can add something while we're
Yeah,
trying to get her back. Yeah, like going on now, like it's popular to watch like anime and like dramas and listen to Asian like music, and it's amazing. I love seeing other people being interested in these things. But it also makes you like remember like when you were like when I was younger, I get made fun of these. But I'm glad like other people are enjoying these things as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope they acknowledge where it came from as well.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. All right. So while we get Aly back, I'm gonna just close out, and then when Aly comes back, we'll hear her thing, and then close out for real. So with all this being said and everything, I like to give out goals. Every episode has a goal or so. So this goal, I think, is very. Oh, there's Aly. Okay.
sorry
Go
about that. I
ahead.
don't know what just
Yeah,
happened.
all good. So go on to what you're about to say, and then we're closed.
Oh, did you guys hear me like at all?
No, you froze like right while you were talking.
Dang it. Okay. Basically, I was just kind of going off of the whole word using weird and how it's kind of harmful. I know, like Jen was saying, like not just food and anime, but I think recently stuff I've heard is like K-pop. People are like, "Oh, that's weird," or it's just like this kind of connotation that's tied to like Asian, um, Asian media or just like things created by Asians, and it being weird. Like, and like that's like makes me feel bad. And growing up, I was like, oh, like, am I weird? Like, it made me want to be something I'm not. I guess I'll just say that. Like, I was like, why do I have to be this way? But I've grown to love who I am, and I've grown to love the culture I've been brought up in. And, I really think it's good how the steps we're making and conversations like these really help too. Like, I love talking about this kind of stuff. So, but yeah, that's just what I had to say about the whole weird thing. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to give out a goal. Like I said before, this is a goal that I give out every episode. And this goal I think is very prominent, especially when it comes to this episodes that have about like gender or race. You need to listen. If you don't listen to anything else, listen to this. And it's not like a new goal, it's the same goal. Number one, educate yourself. That's the biggest thing. If you can educate yourself, you'll be more aware. And number two, don't be silent about problems that are huge, even if they're small. Don't be silent. Silence is the number one way to be anti that. It's not. You might not think so, but the more you be silent, the more people are getting hurt. You need to start speaking up. If you're not in that race, learn about that race, that culture, and speak up and say, "I'm an ally." Because and we're not looking for any saviors either. We should look for allies. You don't need to be a savior and try to fix everything because that's unrealistic. But what you can do is just fix what's happening in the world. At least help that. And I think those are the goals, honestly, right there. So I want to say our next episode will be the intuition of a woman, which I'm very excited about. It's gonna be a lot. It's a 3 episode series. We got intuition of a woman, then the intellect of a man, and then the men versus women battle. So it's gonna be fun. We have a married couple. There's a married couple. One's gonna be the wife's gonna be a woman, the husband, of course, and they're gonna be together, and those are my aunts and my nanny and uncle. And that's me. They're millennials because I want to keep it in the generation ish because that we are technically the future. So that's what we gotta know about.
So
So
cool. I'm excited to listen to that.
thank you, Hannah, Aly, and
Of
Jennifer.
course.
If you say your Instagram handle real quick before we close,
Uh,
you don't have to, but if you do, no, Alex, Jennifer already said it. I know Jennifer said it before.
Wait, say what?
Instagram handle. Anybody want to follow?
Oh, okay. Yeah, y'all can follow my Instagram. It's Aly Ignacio _. It's ALYIGNACIO _. And if you want to follow my TikTok, I'll just go ahead and plug that. At Silly Wigs, like SILY, and then wigs.
Jennifer,
Yeah.
My Instagram handle is JJENNIIFERTRAN. Bit repetitive, but
All right. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the bell if you haven't for the YouTube, and listen to that 5 stars, and follow my Instagram, IDK with Christian. If you feel so kind to donate to my Venmo, Cash App is in the bio, and I think that's it. And we're gonna close. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much, Christian.
bye.
thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.